Okay, so before we start with this new iteration, I'll start off by saying how I feel about the original. Now, it's not a masterpiece, it's not a great movie, but it's above average. It's more tone and atmosphere and arguably the daddy of the slasher genre with one of the most iconic scores of all time. So with that out of the way, here's how I feel about Halloween 2018. It's been 40 years since Laurie Strode survived a vicious attack from crazed killer Michael Myers on Halloween night. Locked up in an institution, Myers manages to escape when the bus transfer goes horribly wrong. Laurie now faces a terrifying showdown when the masked madman returns to Haddonfield, Illinois. But this time, she is ready for him. What a return to form this film is. Believe me, when comparing it to the other Halloween sequels, this 2018 version is a breath of fresh air in a room full of farts. Now, this version isn't perfect, which I'll cover later in the review, but for now, I'll just talk about what I loved about it. This film builds suspense and earns the scares thanks to David Gordon Green's fantastic and controlled direction. Now, looking at his filmography from shitty shit such as Your Highness and The Sitter to now with last year's magnificent Jake Gyllenhaal vehicle Stronger, you can see that David Gordon Green is maturing as a filmmaker, honouring the original, while also turning a lot of the tropes on its head and bringing a lot of sophisticated nuance behind the lens. Jamie Lee Curtis is back once again to finish what she started after killing off Laurie Strode in Halloween Resurrection and coming back after 20 years in H2O. The difference here is, other than the fact that this movie isn't a giant shit heap of 22-week abortions, is the fact that she has this level of intensity, which you can imagine Laurie having, but she also kicks a lot of ass and is relatively nuanced while also opening the door for a new generation of Strodes. Speaking of Strodes, Judy Greer is finally in a movie where she has more than 2 minutes of screen time. I don't really have anything else to say about the rest of the cast except for this one kid at the beginning that was just so lovable within like a 2-minute period, and he actually makes you root for him. But also this other kid that plays someone getting babysat, but he really steals the movie, delivering this dialogue that's more akin to a stand-up routine that actually works. But he says a lot of what the audience is thinking. Other than that, yeah. Like, I don't want to go into spoilers, but yeah, it's just so fucking good. Unsurprisingly, the score by John Carpenter is magnificent. Having seen the film like 2 months ago, I've already listened to it on repeat about 40 times, especially the track Michael Hunts, which feels like a meshing of the old with the new. It builds a lot of tension, it's loud and bombastic, and is my second favourite score of the year, just behind Suspiria. But also, check the movie Suspiria out. The practical effects in this were awesome. Michael, in the 40 years of being reincarnated, has definitely thought about how he wants to show some flair and creativity, which as someone who enjoys gore was a welcome surprise. Now let's face it, Michael has always been a bit extra. Like, remember that scene in the original when he like drapes himself in a sheet and chucks on the victim's glasses only to scare the fuck out of the girlfriend character before he killed her? Yeah, like he's basically like the Salt Bae of killing motherfuckers. Also, the cinematography in this was gorgeous. It's very symmetrical, almost similar to like a Wes Anderson film. I actually really want a Wes Anderson Halloween film now. Anyway, the iconic long take from the original gets nicely homaged in this, but it does really have its own style, which, as previously mentioned, David Gordon Green has shown a lot of control behind the lens. Alright, so now that I've finished sucking this movie's dick, here's a few things that I really didn't like about it. There's so many unnecessary story threads that are just set up just to introduce things like phones going missing or like getting the mask to Michael. There's also a lot of narrative missteps that I don't want to go into too much detail because, you know, spoilers, but there is just so... Alright, there's something that's really fucking stupid that happens at like the hour mark into the movie. So fucking stupid. You know it when you see it. A lot of people are bitching about the humor, but it really worked for me. There's one stupid fucking scene where two cops are discussing a sandwich that I can't believe was written, then approved, filmed, edited, re-edited, approved, test screened, all of that without getting cut. A few characters die of idiocy, but you need a few red shirts in a slasher movie, but characters just go, like, they just go missing in this movie. Like, they're introduced, not killed off, but it's like the editor accidentally hit the delete button on Final Cut Pro timeline. It's really bizarre. But there's also some podcasts at the beginning of the film that you've met in the trailer that have huge wads of cash, seemingly endless resources, and confuse themselves with investigative journalists that don't once mention their Patreon. And it really makes you wonder who's funding this entire endeavor. I know that's more of a nitpick, but to have podcasters who don't mention their Patreon every 2 seconds, it's weird. Alright, so should you see this movie? Yes, but only if you like blood, guts, death, and destruction. Like, I see the average is like 6.8 out of 10. I'd give it like a 7.5 because this is a return to shape. Get it? It's a return to shape for the franchise that I hope continues the storyline. I'll be buying it on 4K, but yeah, it's definitely worth watching. So thank you so much for checking out my review of Halloween. Let me know what you thought down below. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. And if you like this review and want to see more, please click shut to see more. Thanks for watching. Toodles.